Hello everyone. So today's video is going to be a kind of a come with me while I do my daily things sort of video, a make, do, and mend video as it were, but also a couple of just discussion thoughts about where I want to go with the channel at the moment. Channel update sort of thing. So something that I have been working to incorporate a little bit more in my videos, and that I want to do in a more dedicated fashion going forward, is bring the tarot, magical practice, magical workings, and so on with me, not so much to film every element of my life, which is a technique I'm aware of, something that I sometimes find tempting, but that I don't think would be the most helpful or useful on this platform. Because this platform is also, as I often say, an artistic space, a space about craft, a space about visuals, the techniques in visuals, about material crafts, sewing, and amalgamating art magic and working with tarot in all of the things. To be honest, from my worldview, separating those things is actually the more synthetic thing. So while I want to retain the videos I make on this channel that discuss tarot reading, tarot technique, art history, the ways in which those things interact, whether or not decks include them, what goes into specific decks, deeper explorations of certain decks, as I've done with the Pagan Other Worlds Tarot series will be linked somewhere, and the ongoing one with the Crystal Tarot series will be linked somewhere. I want to continue those things, but I also want to intersplice them with a more dedicated video format that basically shows tarot in use, shows magical workings in use as and when that won't compromise the magical working itself, and also show the process of craft, not only in terms of finished results, but also in terms of what goes into them, what technique goes into them, what articles I might have read that go into them, and also video footage of the crafts themselves. So, viewers of this channel may be familiar with the fact that, I sometimes sew on the channel with my antique sewing machine, or I will sometimes do drawing montages on this channel and so on. Or I might do hand sewing or mending, or I might, as I have done, experiment with different pigments and paper marbling, or making my own journals. All of these sorts of things and more I'm hoping to showcase on this channel in conjunction with tarot interpretation, magical workings, and especially the sort of curiosity-inspired, historically curious ways in which I tend to see and interpret things and dig into things. I'm toying with the idea of speaking less on the channel and or allowing some of those crafting montages to do some of the talking for me, because something that has been feeling increasingly dissonant in an unhealthy way for me on the channel is that I talk a lot in real life. I'm a very chatty person, but I also don't talk in a way. A lot of how I understand the world around me, a lot of how I process the world around me is nonverbal. And certainly, I think with being verbal, for me, there is a risk of losing sense of my boundaries in pursuit of over-explanation. And I think there's at least a lot more capacity in terms of how I want this channel, this platform to work. There's a lot more capacity for a sort of a show, don't tell mentality. Like I said, I'm still going to be making my sort of, let me talk to you about all of the nerdy stuff about technique kind of videos. But I would like to intersplice it from time to time with maybe sort of a more relaxing craft to music while watching a magical working unfold, or watching a reading take place, and see how that reading informs the rest of the video kind of format. Maybe with occasional voiceover or something like that to kind of tie it all together. I'm still teasing out the details of that. And actually going to hopefully be experimenting with a new microphone, or new to me anyway. It's my partner's microphone and I don't really know how it works. And it'll be interesting to play around with that because the audio on this channel leaves a lot to be desired. I can't watch my own videos back even when I need to like check things because I find my voice highly irritating and this space very tinny and boomy. So in terms of this video, I decided I wasn't totally sure what I was going to cover in it and how I was going to be introducing the idea of some of these changes, some of the plans for this channel. I knew what I had in mind generally, but I wasn't sure, like, how will I just announce it? Like, what would I do about that? So I actually drew some tarot cards on the topic, along with a few other topics. And, you know, the World, Seven of Swords, Eight of Swords, I think is a very interesting combination of cards to get for this sort of thing. I think, among other things, that talks to me quite a bit about this sort of a little bit more make, do, and mend kind of approach. So something that I therefore wish to make more clear. I think I've done all right with this on the channel, but it's something that actually is arguably almost the most important driving force behind this. Not quite the most important, but it's definitely, again, the sort of separations between these sorts of things are quite synthetic to me. But basically something that's a really big driving force is this waste not, want not mentality. Which is not automatically a commentary on consumerism, although it can be, and sometimes or often is for me. In this scenario, for this platform, it's more a sense of empowerment. It's more a sense of enabling, well, for me, money saving, you know, refraining from excess money expenditure, which is not something I am able or willing to do. But more than that, it's also an impetus for creativity. So, you know, mending a shirt, making adjustments to a shirt. When my measurements change, making adjustments to my clothes. Just the other day, yesterday actually, I made an adjustment to my corset because my body has changed once again, as has happened about 5 million times in the last couple of years. You know, so that as that happens, I'm working to respond to what is going on with me. And in the process of doing that, I'm learning so much more about how not only my clothing works, but how my day-to-day rhythms work, especially as I rebuild post-autism diagnosis. There are all sorts of ways in which this might apply to any given person's personal lived experience. It doesn't just have to be history bounding. It doesn't just have to be, oh, let me heal and redesign my life after having learned of my neurodivergence. I think the entire thing that I kind of hope to show is that there's a process of self-tailoring whatever you're doing to your needs, and realizing that the more you do that, the more you actually kind of have what you need around you. The more you start to get a sense of what free resources are online, the more you get a sense of, okay, well, the last time I made this sort of thing, I ended up wasting lots of fabric, or I used too much paint, or even things like with washing the dishes or cleaning, like I used too much of this sort of cleaning product. You end up learning about what you can make at home, or any number of very, very hands-on approach things like that. I think that ties into this notion of the World, Seven of Swords, and Eight of Swords, because one gets stuck in one's own approach. Not just a collective approach that may or may not be kind of broken, but one's own personal approach and way of thinking about things. I think there is a lot of, how do I want to put this? There's so much to be gained from establishing a different way of thinking, I think. There's so much to be gained from questioning in a way that feels inconvenient. In a world driven not just by consumerism in terms of acquisition or whatever, you know, buying things. In a world given by like maximum efficiency and use of time, everything quicker, everything more convenient, everything next day delivery, everything made as quickly as possible, keep all of its modes of manufacture hush hush. Don't tell people what they don't want to hear, only feed them language of quicker, faster, better, more, always more, exponentially more. Again, that doesn't just apply to material objects and consumerism. It applies to mental health. It applies to one's emotional state. It applies to even the approach to creative thinking, not just problem solving, but how ideas, I think, even work. The role of things like neurological rest in ideas, the role of physical rest in ideas. Anyway, you know, learning a new way to think, and then looking at your own environment and trying to understand where you might be missing something, where a feeling of being stuck may end up actually being beneficial because it's what calls you or provokes that thinking process, that curious, okay, well, I feel stuck. Is there something I'm missing here? Have I been lying to myself about this? Have I not been lying to myself about this? Has someone else lied to me? Do I think I'm getting away with something? What is that? What are the ramifications of that on me over time, short term and over time? What relationship does that have to the rest of the world? What's my place in all of that? How do I define all of these things? Does it matter? Like maybe we come to various different conclusions about that. But for me, what I want to do more on this channel is build a repertoire of craft and project and art and ideas. I want them to be cohesive. I want them to be infused with who I am and what my priorities are. But I also want them to be I don't know if engaging is the word. I mean, I want them to be engaging as well, but I want them to be something that when viewed can be made applicable to someone else's life without replicating the details I have placed into something myself, without tying everything so much to the individual, but also without making it so perfectly collective that things need to be understood wholesale. I want to try to show that. And for me, magical workings, witchcraft, spiritual identity, pagan identity, and tarot and oracle are a huge part of how I do that. So yeah, that's kind of where I'm at the moment. I hope to just show more of that. It's still not going to be exhaustive. There's a huge component of what I am about that I don't show on this platform as much, primarily because it has to do with the country I live in and my nation of origin and my role as a guest in this culture, and my thoughts and feelings about that and the collective experience here about that. So it's something that I'm not as comfortable talking about here because it's not my place. I don't feel it's my place, and I think there are other voices that are more worth listening to and more authentic to what happens here that are more worth listening to. So there is that. In the near future, I am still going to be doing certain like deck videos and so on, like I have been doing and will hopefully continue to do. But I also have plans for a couple of sort of more seemingly supercilious, is that the word I'm looking for, videos. So, you know, end of the year, there will likely be a deck collection video, because as I said last year, it seems reasonable to do this once per year, approximately. So there'll be something like that coming along at some point. But correspondingly, I am also at some point going to do, maybe in the near future, a bit of a walkthrough of my handmade / history bounding clothing such as it stands at this time. I think it will be useful even just for me to document that, to kind of see in a year's time how I have or have not evolved, and what I'm doing with all of that. Especially because I have some very distinctive plans for my clothes going forward. There's been a real crystallization of what I want. And I think talking through what I've made thus far and also what I wear on a regular basis and talk about some of the shapes and techniques that I'm aiming for with that and showing it might be a really useful way to kind of document this stage in that process. So hopefully this video made sense, as I always say, and hopefully everyone's doing well, and you know, looking forward to the holiday season, or not, as is their want and preference. So yeah, hope everyone's doing well, taking care of themselves to the best of their ability, and being kind, and I will see you all next time. Bye!